What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Comics Kings Archives. This is Brandon.
This is Michael.
Stefan.
Guys, this is the show where we break down a story collected. Today we have a banger video for you guys. If you haven't noticed by the thumbnail or the background, we are talking about Wolverine. This is the first Bronze Age story we are going to be covering on the channel. We're definitely going to be doing a lot more of these in the future. However, we are going to take a tour into the Ultimate Universe after this. But with everything going on with Wolverine, right? Lives, deaths of Wolverine, his ongoing will be resuming shortly. So let's take this moment to relive his first miniseries by Chris Claremont and Frank Miller. This is a fantastic story. I have it here in a big omnibus. I know they recently reprinted the trade. So if that is available for you, contact your LCS. If it isn't, there is a link to Amazon in the description below. I always prefer you guys to navigate through your LCS, see if you can order it through them, because obviously they need the support much more than Jeff Bezos does, you know. But I'm really excited about this story. As always, we got two phenomenal people. We got Michael. We got Steph. Good. How are we feeling today, boys?
Really good. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I'm excited to read about this. Obviously, one of the bigger X-Men titles, one of the key X-Men books that need to be read. Like, I don't know, like this book is all by itself in its own like kind of category, and in the way that it's just like, I don't know, it's ridiculously good. It's held up in through time. I think. I don't think it's aged very, very well, and the story's great, art's great. It's ridiculously good.
Right, Steph. How did you enjoy this? I know you were a huge fan of the movie,
yes.
the Wolverine movie.
Yes, so, I've read it before. I didn't finish. But I could have brushed up on my reread a little bit better. But like Michael was saying, this is a classic. This is, it's a key to what Wolverine is as we know him today. Right. The whole shadowy past. He's always got things coming back to bite him in the ass that he's not aware that he had.
It's true.
Waiting for him. I don't fucking care.
But yeah, no, this is a classic work by two icons, still living icons of the industry. Debatably, that they might not do what they did back then, but they're definitely living icons.
Well, we've yet to see what Claremont can do in 2022, because he is going to be having a Gambit series coming out real soon. So let's get pumped for that. Everyone's favorite ladies man, actually not my favorite ladies man, but a lot of people's favorite ladies man, Gambit, But what's really cool about this book is this gave Wolverine a lot of his fan base. Obviously, like Claremont and Byrne did their little stint with Wolverine. He was a key character, Byrne being Canadian, Wolverine's Canadian, but we never really got to know his full background. It got teased,
Right.
We got to hear Professor X, call him Logan here and there. We got a little bit of flashbacks. But a lot of that era of X-Men was focused around more of the minority characters. We got Storm's background in X-Men.
Yep.
What was it? It wasn't 112. It was like 104 or something like that. It was earlier. Her background in Africa growing up. We got to see a lot of Nightcrawler's background. We got to see a lot of Colossus's background. And now we're finally getting to focus on Wolverine. In my opinion, this book is all about the ability to be honest with yourself. It's about self-realization of who you are. Wolverine is always seen as like a very animalistic person, but he's also human. So he has to find that balance. If anybody has ever seen Kung Fu Panda, right? What makes the Dragon Warrior is all about like the balance, the inner peace within yourself. And honestly, a lot of this book is about that. Martial arts in the 80s was at an all-time high. This is when Shang-Chi was booming as a character. This is when karate went to the valley. Yes, that is a Karate Kid reference. Ralph Macchio is a legend. And I've studied martial arts for years, so I have a lot to relate. Even though I studied, mine dates back to Okinawa, which is a similar area. There are two different styles of martial arts in this book today, but a lot of the lessons are very similar. So I'm excited to get into that. I'm excited to get into the darkness. And if anybody has seen the Wolverine movie, it is, in my opinion, it is a very solid movie. I don't care what anyone says. I liked it. You got to.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun movie.
It was harmless.
I enjoyed it. The only thing for me is the last act. It kind of fell apart, but that's most Fox.
Yeah,
me too. The ride was.
But they did
so
the Deadpool.
Good.
Yeah, kind of.
No, not Deadpool wasn't in that movie.
You're right.
The first
Wade.
one.
What they did with Wade. Yeah, Wade.
I'm
the character of Wade.
You're talking about the Wolverine?
I'm talking about the Wolverine.
Oh,
That's
the
what this story-
Wolverine.
The
Oh,
Wolverine.
okay.
Still,
Then yeah,
I'm talking
that
about
one
the
was
same
really
thing,
good.
folks.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. My only gripe with that movie was Silver Samurai as a mech. You know, the whole mech
Yeah.
Silver Samurai. That's the only gripe
Luke
I have
was
about it.
dying, bruh.
I
What did you
completely
want?
agree with you. I completely agree with you.
I almost
Like-
thought in the trailers, I might have not even been that, but I just remember feeling like misled because in the trailers they showed it was like his son with the sword, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's Silver Samurai. That I could have gotten behind, but
Yeah.
when he wasn't even Silver Samurai. I was like, you guys bait and switched me.
I mean, I didn't mind the mech suit. I mean, if my great grandfather came back from the dead, I would gladly put him in a mech suit if he was able to kick ass one more time. So,
I mean,
that's
yeah,
what-
it was just interesting too. Just I mean, like, wasn't it made of adamantium too? Like,
yeah, it was like
was this like this
adamantium, so-
rarest of metals? He can make a whole mech suit out of it. Like that was my big
What do
thing
you
too.
need
Yeah, him as a
Wolverine's
mech suit
claws?
was terrible.
Yeah,
But the rest of the movie was great. I loved
yeah.
it. I loved
Yeah,
it.
it being in Japan, Wolverine, you know, he had it picked up like a number of years. Like he hadn't been seeing the X, but kind of Logan was reminiscent of that, you know, and the fact that he wasn't. It was just him and Professor X when that picked up. In the Wolverine, it was just him. Like he had been living in the wilderness by himself, long hobo hair with the
Well, and
beard.
Jean would pop up. I mean, it wasn't actually Jean, but his
Oh,
his
but
memory of
yeah.
Jean.
It
So the
was like a
actress was popping up.
flashback,
So that was really
yeah,
cool.
like he was
Yeah.
like reminiscing those moments.
Yeah.
But that is actually kind of a parallel to his relationship with Yukio in this book.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. There's a lot of deception in this comic book. This book is the reason why this book is aged so well is because it's ahead of its time, but it's written in a way that is unique, and
Yeah.
it's a complicated read, but it's also like quite enjoyable with the action. Frank
Yeah.
Miller is the MVP of this book, in my opinion. Just the way that he's able to master space. If you guys are fans of Jim Steranko, there's a lot of Jim Steranko homage in here with the way that the words go down the side of the page. If anyone's read Spawn, that's another Steranko homage. If you guys ever want to go back to Jim Steranko's Shield, issue number 2 is the first time we've seen kind of like those sidebars without like the text box. That's like a little bit of a fun fact. That was the first time that ever appeared. So if you want to know like comic book history like that, subscribe to the channel, like the video for more fun stuff.
Gems
If you
dropped all
like
the
more-
time.
Yeah, exactly. Knowledge is being dropped here on a daily basis. Other things that we have going on Comics Kings, we have Creators Corner, which is booming. We have a partnership with Top Cow, so we are going to be interviewing Matt Hawkins on Sunday. We just interviewed Cy Spurrier, who's going to be writing a lot of X-Men and a new Image book coming out. A lot of great stuff in the backlog coming out. What is a backlog? Subscribe and find out who's going to be on next. We have weekly wrap up every Monday. That is our comic book live review show where Bryce and I review the books we read. Obviously, it's great discussion, great time. And then we have Chris on Infinite Rants with myself and the real MVP right down here, my boy Steph, where we talk about a comic book. We go into depth about it. Comic book conversation. We kind of like to turn your daily LCS conversations into more of a podcast format and really break down some of these topics, give a lot of valuable information. So if that interests you guys, I want to point you in the direction of those videos. And Michael is doing great things on TikTok as well.
Thank you.
Always shouting
Yes.
out amazing new comic book day stuff, gushing
Yeah.
over Nightwing. So if you really want to know who the best Robin is, Michael just knows. He knows it's Dick Grayson.
He knows Dick Grayson is a great character, right? No, I'm
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. We're gonna have to do that for another. We're gonna have to solve this. We're gonna have to solve this one day.
Sure.
But
Be happy to. Be happy to.
let's dive into the book. Like I said, this book is all about
Let's
balance.
talk about Wolverine.
And it's all about Wolverine learning himself, and we are learning about Wolverine throughout his time in Japan. And we start out, we are not in Japan, we are in Canada, and Wolverine has tracked down a stray bear because this bear has had a poison arrow in the back of himself, right through his back, and that has led this animal to be in a lot of pain. That has allowed this animal to go berserk in the wild. So Wolverine, who is a natural hunter, right? He is an animal. He is trained to hunt, so he hunts this guy down with his scent, and he ends up doing the dirty work and putting him down, which we automatically see that takes a toll on Wolverine.
Yeah.
You know, even though it's a bear, Wolverine is a human and he values life. The cool thing about Wolverine is he values everyone else over himself,
Yeah.
but he doesn't always show it. Like it's always like actions speak louder than words. He knows what he has to do for the betterment of others. He knows what's best for other people, and if that's sacrificing a piece of himself, he will do so. That is just Wolverine as a character.
Because
Yeah,
he knows he can.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He has the ability to save people. I think, to be honest, deep down, I think he wants to relax. He wants to go off and live a great, happy, calm life. But he knows that he's the person that can do all this. That's why he keeps saying, "I'm the best at what I do."
Right.
He knows it.
And that was the opening line in
until
this.
someone
I'm the
can do it
best
better.
at what I do. And what he does is hunting, killing, and doing the things that are typical heroes, such as Spider-Man, Daredevil, Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, what they can't do. They can't kill. They can't make those hard decisions.
Yeah, he does what needs to be done. Sometimes it's not always the easiest. What needs to be done isn't always the easiest thing.
It's not always the prettiest.
Yeah.
It's not always like Steph and very extremely good looking. But
there it is.
Thank you.
But
Too kind.
he does what's necessary, and that's what makes Wolverine such a dynamic character. A lot of times in life, there is no easy road, there is no straight line, and that's kind of the status quo of Wolverine's life. And there are times where he just wants to unleash all that anger, almost like he has the weight of the world on him. And there are times where he just wants to have peace.
It also hurts him.
Either of those.
Every time he does it, it literally physically hurts him to release his claws. Like the act of what he's doing is causing him pain emotionally and also physically. So that's like that he lives with that for like a long time. So like it's a character like, I don't know. You were mentioning all the other hero characters, right? Yeah, he's nothing like them. But then what are the other characters like? What about Punisher? Punisher does what he has to do. Vastly different kind of character. They both kill, yes, but Wolverine suffers every single time he does it. Punisher, he knows in his mind, he knows what he's doing is right.
Punisher has a bloodlust.
Yes. He knows what he's doing is right. It's the right thing. In my opinion, it's not. But like he knows what he's in his mind. He's doing the right thing. Wolverine doesn't want to kill, and his body doesn't want him to. It hurts him every time, but he does what he has to.
Right, and even though he heals really quickly, one of his abilities is to have that regenerative healing. A lot of times, all the inside wounds don't heal. Right, you can't heal what's on the inside, and that's a huge story of Wolverine's life. I don't know why, but I'm getting really emotional already. But
well, good. Wolverine. I think people that don't read too much Wolverine take him for granted in that aspect that he's not a deep character, but Wolverine's probably one of the characters you can get the deepest in Marvel comics. Like his suffering alone, you can write forever on. So it's crazy.
And the way that Claremont and Miller deliver this story is so unique, and it's so layered with all of this substance that we're unraveling with that we learn in the first 5 pages. We just learned this about Wolverine slaying a bear. Right. So guys, I highly recommend you check out this book. And if anyone has their thoughts on Wolverine, I encourage you to comment them in the comments below. But we killed a bear, and Wolverine is not happy with what's going on. So he uses the arrow to track the scent of the people that did. Now, in the movie, I'm comparing it, he kind of gets into a fight with them. This time in the comic, he ends up walking away and he kind of suppresses that anger. Now we flip over to a picture of a young female named Mariko Yashida, who is Wolverine's love interest for a very long time. When he used to study martial arts in Japan, but he moved back to Canada because he knows that I will never have a family. Even though in Old Man Logan he did have a family, but that was taken away from him because of his natural state. Because he will never be able to have peace. He will never be able to not be at war with himself and those around him. That is Wolverine. He will never be in a state where he's not suffering. Right? But he knows that he has the strength to continue. Right? So he called Markio weeks ago and she didn't pick up. She said she would. She was going back to Japan to live with her father, live with her family. And Wolverine never, he called the house again. They picked up and hung up on him. So Wolverine got on the next plane, smoked a cigar, and left. You can't talk about. Hey, you know what?
True.
I heard those Canadian cigars hit different.
He's just a fan. He's just a patriot of his own country, you know.
Yeah.
He's just a fan. Right.
So we arrive, and Wolverine meets up with an old friend. His name is Asano. I'm not gonna Asano Kimura, and this was somebody that he was closely in touch with back in his early days in Japan. If you guys want more recommended readings of his earlier days in Japan, I believe that is touched on in his ongoing series. Or is there another book where that happens? Because I'm not. I need to get on that.
I mean, yeah, they touch on it all the time. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
depending on which. Oh, you said ongoing. Yeah, he's mentioned in quite a few different series.
Right. So this guy is a really unique piece to Wolverine's history. He's kind of explaining what's going on. So Mariko's family regained control as the primary clan. The Yoshida clan is now the top dog, but in doing so, they had to sacrifice something. So they sacrificed Mariko's freedom because in ancient civilization, men were the dominant gender, right? Everything stemmed from the father, right? So everything that the father owned, right, it was his property. Everything that was the daughters, it's not the daughters, it is not the wives, it is the father's, right? If a girl married it to someone else, that then becomes to the husband, but he has to kind of be under that pyramid that is the father's. You have the father, and then you have like the husband, the husband, daughter, and then so on and so forth, and the people working in the family. Now we learn that Yoshida is in league with the Hand. He's actually the leader of the Hand in this story, and Wolverine is not happy because he is in love with Mariko, and so he puts on his uniform and he is getting ready to go confront her father. And he does that. He gets into the palace. Palace is how you would picture a palace in Japan. And he goes into to confront Mariko, and she is beaten to death. He goes to see her. She's like not really beaten to death, but she has like bruises all over her face. She is all depressed and everything. My omnibus was not so heavy. I would show you, but Seth has it on Marvel Unlimited because he is the man. And Wolverine, when you see somebody that you love and you care about that is beaten like that, it is very difficult to see that. You want to do something. You know, Wolverine.
You don't want to feel so helpless, you know. He wants to solve this for her, like so she doesn't experience,
Right, and he wants Mariko for himself. Now, Mariko is explaining the two samurai swords in her family, which play a very important part in this book because those are the swords that Wolverine uses but those are the swords that is used against Wolverine later on in the story. These are the swords of the Yoshida clan, and in order for Wolverine to obtain those swords, he has to defeat the father. Her husband walks in, who is basically a crime lord. He is the only competition to the Yoshida family, so in their regaining control of Japan, Mariko had to marry this guy in order for him to knuckle under Yoshida, whose first name is Sinjin. So that is like kind of the crux of this, is you have the leader of the Hand, his army, and then some guy who his daughter had to marry as a power trip.
I also think that this is the comic that really kind of threw the Hand into mainstream Marvel spotlight to make him like a serious like universe threat as well, which was really
Daredevil.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. But like
they've been
I think this is the story that really got you to understand who the Hand were and where they were in the world. Like, I think this was a really, really good introduction to that villain that is still here today, which is amazing. So
and it's playing a huge role in Zdarsky's Daredevil. That is that if anyone, so that's going to be the biggest crux of the relaunch of Daredevil. Not really a relaunch, but the renumbering of Daredevil. I'm going to say renumbering. Is because of that destiny, that prophecy that Stick told Elektra that y'all gonna have to fight the Hand, bro. So they're gonna have to go fight the Hand. Yep. You know, you always gotta listen to Stick, and I wish we kind of got to see Stick in this issue, but I understand why we didn't. I just would have liked to see a little bit of Stick, you know, because Stick is the man. You know, if anyone's gonna take out a band of ninjas, it's Stick.
I mean,
it's Stick. Let's be honest. That guy's just a G. If anyone's seen the Netflix show of Daredevil, Stick is like your favorite character. He's just one of your favorites.
He's so sarcastic.
He is the most sarcastic, lovable bastard. I would love that guy as my father, just because he wouldn't be able to see anything I do.
He was still like being sarcastic when he chopped off his own hand in Defenders. Like
Yeah, right?
he shows up to the Defenders with one hand. He's like, whatever, guys. Look what I did. Like get off your butts right now.
Yeah, he's like, I'm an old man. I chopped off my hand. Get your asses up.
Yeah, get up, please.
Wolverine. So Wolverine's about to attack the husband. And Mariko's like, yo, put him down. This ain't gonna work. So he does that. Now I will say Frank Miller uses a lot of negative space in these panels, which is really unique because in Daredevil, he used a lot of tighter panels, but maximized the amount of space. He does that a lot here, but he's also more dynamic with the negative space to focus on what Wolverine is doing. Wolverine is the center of attention in this book, not just because it's his title, but because it's the first time we're learning about Wolverine in his past that has been teased throughout X-Men since he joined the team in '94. So he confronts the father. He's already on his knees. Yoshida's like, you know what? Screw you. We are gonna fight right now. And Wolverine at this point gets his butt kicked because we were talking about balance earlier, right? In martial arts, you have to be balanced when you're using a weapon, whether it's your own claws, whether it's using your fists, your feet, a sword, a bow and arrow. You have to have a balance in your life. Because if you're ever too aggressive with it, that leads to your judgment being clouded. That leads to mistakes. That leads you to overshoot. That leads you to swing too hard, overcommit, right? If you're too timid, that takes away from your quickness, your agility, your ability to think on your feet. Yeah. But if you have that center of balance, your ability to remain calm, your ability to keep some of that anger regressed, right? You're able to master both emotions to the point where you can have that inner peace. You're a much better fighter. You're a more aware fighter, and you are a much more level-headed to make the right decision. It's almost like you have more clarity in the situation.
Sure,
absolutely.
In this issue, Wolverine does not have that clarity at all. I remember my first time fighting. I almost broke my nose because I was too timid.
You almost broke your own nose?
I got kicked in the face. I took a shin to the bridge of my nose in front of the whole class. It was terrible because I was an instructor and I was fighting my boss. We were sparring in front of the class and we were like trying to teach him a lesson and hit me he did like a side kick and then he did a round kick and I didn't see the round kick coming because I was like, I dropped my hands for the round kick or for the side kick and the round kick. Boom! I took a shin right to the nose. Yeah, it was terrible. I fell down. It was terrible. But guess what? When next time we fought, I was too angry, right? I was pissed off. I was like, God damn it. I was like, oh, fuck. So
yeah.
I was overcommitting and I got punched in the gut, got the wind knocked out of me. I fell down. Great. It took me 3 years to win my first tournament fighting. It took me 3 years. And funny, the first tournament I ever won fighting was the first one after my hip surgery. Because I was more at balance with myself. I was at peace with the surgery. I was at peace with myself returning. And I had to switch up my fighting style. And I won by only doing a punch. Even though the guy I kicked, even though he was like dating my ex-girlfriend, I kicked him in the face. I was the only guy. But that's a different story. But I digress. Wolverine gets his butt kicked, right? Not because he's not capable of a fighter. We've seen him kick butt in dozens of X-Men issues, right? There's been countless number of issues where Logan has been the guy to
always come out on top.
Right?
Yeah, he typically is.
And in this, right, this is an old guy. He
finishes the fight. He's the one that finishes
the fight. This is the one where he gets his butt kicked, right? And then he gets dragged out. The last thing he sees is Mariko saying no, and he gets dragged out, left for dead, where we get introduced to a new female character who brings him out. And these guys try to gang up on him, but they're quickly killed with knives going through the back.
I just think that's such a dope panel right there with the Tokyo layout.
Right, with the Tokyo lights and Wolverine just waking up. I guess that's like a cool way because after you get knocked out and you wake up, it's like in the movies, you see everything's like kind of blurred. Everything looks like it's watercolored. So I thought that was really dope too.
Yeah. Kind of it added to the effect of him coming to, like being so. I don't know, like what just happened. Right.
So we learn who this character is in the next issue. We're on issue 2 now. This is 4 issues for anybody who is wondering. And that is Yukio, who has a very big love interest in Wolverine. However, she is hired to double cross him and bring him essentially to the Hand so the Hand can kill him. So we're going to be dealing with that in this issue. This is where all the deception happens, right? So they wake up. So Wolverine wakes up. She is nursing him back to full strength, and the hand comes. Now, these hand agents, they're fighting Wolverine especially harder. The first part of this has a lot of action. Yukio is a very skilled fighter. However, the hand is kind of taking it easy on her. She's not really killing them because she works with them. She is a hired assassin. She is an agent of Yoshida to bring Wolverine to his grave, right? Because this guy doesn't like Wolverine coming to Japan, forcing his way into his daughter's life yet again. The whole point of her marrying this guy so he can control Japan, get rid of her husband, find a way to kill him. So Yukio, that's her job, is to infiltrate the hand and kill this guy while killing Wolverine. And Yukio is just supposed to basically be the Punisher, in a sense, right?
Sure.
She is a hired assassin, almost like Elektra, right? Hired to kill Daredevil. However, flips the script. So if that comparison helps you, I hope you guys appreciate that. But essentially, we beat the hand, and Yukio is now addressing Wolverine's wounds because he gets his butt kicked a little bit. He ends up winning, but he's fighting like 50 hand agents. So Yukio and him, they're kind of exchanging in a lot of dialogue. Wolverine speaks very fluent Japanese. I do want to point out, so a lot of this, you're going to have those sidebars. It's in Japanese. A lot of this is like, I really wish there is a Japanese version of this book.
Sure.
I want to know if there is. If anybody knows, DM me like a picture of it, because that would be so dope.
I think there is.
Yes. It's so weird seeing it's like different colored in my omnibus and then on Marvel Unlimited.
I think there is one. I think I remember seeing one when I was in Japan. I think there is one. Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I think there is.
How was Japan, Michael?
It's fun. I went to a comic store. I went to American Comic Store in Japan.
Nice. That'd be so dope.
Did you get McDonald's too?
Of course.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, wherever I travel, I always go to a comic store, no matter what country. And I brought back an American Aquaman from Japan. That's the thing I brought back from Japan.
So ashamed.
That's awesome.
That's what I brought back.
I'm proud of you, but I'm also so ashamed. I'm like, you went to a comic store. You got Aquaman. Remember that Big Bang Theory episode where Raj is like, Aquaman sucks?
Aquaman does not suck.
He doesn't suck. Thank you, Jeff.
He's trying his best. Okay, he's trying his best.
Jeff Johns is the reason why Aquaman doesn't suck.
That's very true. Yes, I completely agree with that.
Even though Peter David played a little hooky with the character. Pun intended.
Dad jokes.
Oh,
not even there.
I'm not even mad at Peter David. He's fine. That's
Yeah.
Hooky,
that was funny.
I don't agree with that writing, but it's fine. He gets a pass.
Because he's Peter David.
It's fine. So
anyway, Yukio cannot live with the fact that Wolverine is attracted to her, but Wolverine knows that his heart is for Marco. Mm-hmm. Yukio's like, man, fuck that. She's like, oh, fuck that. So she can't live with that. And she's supposed to carry this guy to his death. But she also can't do that. So as a character, Yukio's like, I'm going to just hopefully coincidentally he dies or Makio dies or someone dies so I can get over this. Or I can save his life. So we have a bunch of options here. What is she going to go with? Let's find out. So we get a little bit of an interlude to what is going on behind the scenes. We get more fighting with the hand, but they're still kind of taking it easy. And I guess she confronts Yoshida about everything. He's like, you got to get back to work. So you got to go kill him. You're mine, So she ends up breaking in, and she actually ends up, is that in this issue? Yeah, that is in this. No, it's not in this issue. Yeah, she ends up coming in, and she ends up killing the gentleman that we met in the first issue. Is that in this issue? That's not in this issue. Spoiler alert. But this second issue is probably the most confusing, mostly because of the deception in here. But, yeah, okay. Yeah, so, Wolverine goes berserk, right? Back in the palace, right? He goes berserk on the hand, and because, this is the issue where he dies. And Wolverine goes berserk, and Mariko sees that, so that ends up ruining his chances. Sorry, that got a little bit confusing.
No worries.
How are we feeling so far, guys?
Good. This book is solid, man.
Yeah, you can't go wrong, man. Classic.
Right.
Yeah.
So we venture off into the third issue. We get a little bit of a flashback, of Wolverine challenging people that he used to fight on. Asano is still alive. So my apologies. Asano is still alive. He's gonna die in this issue. Spoiler alert. So Wolverine went berserk, I guess, because the hand was in the palace. I need to reread that second issue multiple times because it took me 3 reads and I'm still like confused as to what happened in that second issue. But it happens. So so we're with Asano and Yukio ends up she ends up bringing Wolverine out of this fight and they keep venturing off. Now we're going back into the palace. We leave, we come back, and it's almost like they're planning to infiltrate again. Is what if I'm misspeaking, please correct.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
So anyway, Yukio and Wolverine get separated again, and Wolverine gets knocked out. Yukio breaks in, and she ends up killing Asano. Right? Wolverine wakes up and he sees that, and obviously he's gonna go berserk. He knows who killed his friend because of the scent that Yukio has. So he ends up chasing her. He's like, this person, I love this person, and now she killed my friend, therefore I have to go get her. Right? Now Yukio runs away. She knows Wolverine is following him, so she lures him into where the hand is. So we have yet another fight. A lot of this is a lot of action. Frank Miller draws a lot of dynamic action. It is great.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is probably the most action we've seen of Wolverine solo. And he ends up defeating everyone, and now he's like, okay, now Yukio, I need to come for you, because you killed my friend, and then you lured me into a trap. You're screwed. Yukio ventures off. She escapes, like kind of like Mr. Miracle-esque, but in this issue, she's ending up getting trapped. She ends up getting cut by the hand, and she is summoned back to Yoshida, who is trying to make his final game on the husband who's supposed to be dead already, right? So now Yoshida's looking for total control. He has a lot of things to worry about. He has Wolverine out, who's supposed to be dead. Yukio is now betraying by not killing Wolverine and not killing the husband. Asano is dead, who is a pretty big factor of what is going on here. So she gets brought back, and she stands up to Yoshida. She's like, I'm not taking any of your bullshit because I love this person. I loved him.
Yeah.
Right? You made me do this. So Wolverine ends up coming back, and he confronts Yukio, and Yukio's like, you know what? I was hired to do this. She's like, I'm on your side now. She's like, I am on your side. She ends up proving that by freeing Mariko of her robes so Mariko can escape her father. Right. So Wolverine, that is considered her debt repaid, because now she knows, okay, I can't be with the person I love. I lost that privilege, and now Wolverine's like, well, now I can't be with her because he's like, yeah, debt is repaid, business as usual. So Wolverine has now challenged Yoshida to the fight. He ends up delivering a note saying, you know what, here, midnight, boom, tonight, we're doing it. Wolverine uses his claws. Yoshida uses the swords that we saw earlier. Wolverine is much more balanced because he now knows himself. I think he is more at peace with Marquio seeing that side of him that he was trying to hide for so long. I think he is at peace with himself as a warrior, as a fighter, and knowing who he's really fighting for. He's fighting for Marquio. The fact that Yukio is no longer in the picture in his love life, essentially because of what she did to his friend. Wolverine knows, okay, my goal now is to keep Marquio safe, and that is getting rid of her father, who is basically a dick who's in charge of the hand.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're fighting. Wolverine ends up getting the upper hand. He's very well balanced, and he ends up defeating him. He grabs the sword, like kind of catches it. He blocks it, catches it, grabs it, and then his knuckles are right in front of his face, and he just snicks. Boom.
There you go.
And then Marquio comes in with her father dead on the ground. She's like, you know what? I would have done the same if he ended up being alive. So it's Wolverine. That was like a big moment, right? she offers her family's sword to Wolverine. Sorry, Steph?
No, I was just saying, yeah, that was a big moment. I was agreeing.
Right. And Wolverine's like, I'm not or she refers to him as Logan. She's like, I'm not worthy. You know, I killed your father. I am not worthy. I did all of this. I caused all of this. You know, and they venture off and they end up getting married, which we get the wedding letter, which continues in Uncanny X-Men 172.
Mhm.
Wolverine sends out all the invitations for the RSVP, and he says, "Hey, Elf, don't forget my beer." But that's how we end the story.
Just another day in the life of Logan's past, you know?
Right.
No.
That second issue really threw me through the loop. So basically, what really happened was Yukio was hired to kill Wolverine and kill the husband, so the father can have total control and get Wolverine out of the picture, who was not supposed to be there in the first place, because he was already plotting to overthrow the husband. The husband was a figurehead so he can gain total control. That was a sacrifice he had to make in order to gain control of Japan, because the husband of Marquillo is a rival of his. So keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer, kind of mindset.
Sure.
Mariko got attracted to Wolverine, so she couldn't kill him. She knew that by luring him into the hand, he would get out one way or another.
Right.
So throughout this issue, Wolverine just learns throughout his fighting how to balance himself and who he's fighting for, what he's fighting for. He's fighting for himself. He's fighting for the people around him that he really loves. That is Marquillo. And for a time period in this book, this is Yukio before she kills his friend. How do you guys like this book overall? What are your last thoughts?
It's classic. You know, it kind of. I felt like this story wrapped up as it should have. Like, you know, kind of lingering remains, but like I said, so it's always something coming back to bite Wolverine in the ass, and
true.
Perfect example of that.
Right, Michael, how do you feel, brother?
Yeah, I think this book, first off, is extremely important. That this is like one of the first really kind of look back at who Wolverine is. We're starting to actually get to know who Wolverine is a little bit, but like it leaves you wanting a lot more. Like we're kind of getting an idea of where he's been and what his like code of conduct is, but very small amount. Like this is only 4 issues. It's very condensed into this small story. It's very good. I highly recommend reading it. But there's not a whole lot of exploration of who Wolverine is in this series, but it gives you a footing of a foundation of where to go from here. Like, okay, this was obviously a past life. Okay, there's probably going to be a lot more, but like, what was his experiences here? How long was he here for? Like, this is really solid look at Wolverine.
This is the perfect entry point for all the Wolverine fans.
Totally.
Yeah. If you haven't read Weapon X, that's also a must read by Barry Windsor Smith.
Sure. Yeah.
But this is if you want to know about Wolverine's baggage, about his suffering, about all the necessary details to this character, this book is an absolute must read. I will say a lot of Bronze Age books are very wordy. This one is wordy in the second issue, which is why it's so confusing. But if you can get past that, it's a great book, you know.
It's a worth read. Yeah,
it kind of plays off the whole Ronin aspect Wolverine has, like the lone samurai. Kind of gives that vibe throughout this. Like, you know, it definitely kind of gives him not like Michael said, it doesn't like give too much, but it gives you an idea of what his code of ethics are, like that kind of the honor he abides to, stuff like that.
Yeah, and of where that came from, and Wolverine as a character, you get a little teaser of it, which is really cool.
Right, this is absolutely a great story. I would recommend it to everybody. Again, contact your LCS, make sure you read it. It is important. It doesn't read like any Bronze Age books. If you're worried about like the language being weird,
no, it ages very well.
It ages really well. It's still a very engaging story, and there's a lot of substance to it. You know, a lot of times in these comic books that we've reviewed on this channel, there's a lot of substance. You know, with the exception of Heroes Reborn, that is. But, let's do something new. We've never rated a book. So out of 5, are we doing Steph? We doing backlogs? Or are we doing 5 crowns?
We can do crowns since this is the
The
kings.
kingdom, since it's the kingdom. Out of 5 crowns, what do you guys give it? Steph, you can go first.
I'm gonna give it a 5. Like I think it's seminal to Wolverine and who he is. Like it kind of gives the whole mysterious, like I said, something's always coming back to bite him in the ass. This story kind of jump started that thing. Like Michael said, like what was his experience with that? Like what other experiences has he had? Like this story definitely made you want to see those experiences. So story art 5. Classic.
Michael, out of how many kings do you give it? How many crowns?
All right, this is a little bit of an explanation, so sorry in advance. As a Wolverine story, it's a 5 out of 5 for me. As a Marvel comic in general, especially at the time and where it went from there, I'm going to say like 3.5 out of 5. It is ridiculously good. It's worth reading, especially if you're a huge Wolverine fan or even an X-Men fan in general, or even a Daredevil fan. Like it just fits very well in like this mystique of a little bit, but it does get a little confusing. It does have a little bit of an odd back and forth between the who the main villains are and then Wolverine himself, especially because there's not crazy amount of crazy amount of character growth. He pretty much is Wolverine throughout the entire thing, and so overall, 3.5. But like a Wolverine story, 5 out of 5.
Wow. I've never seen Michael be that critical of a gem story. I like it. I love it. I like that side of Michael.
I love this stuff. It's great. But if you ask me to be critical, I can definitely be critical.
I love when Michael gets critical.
I think that's an astute assessment. I'm a Wolverine fan, so that's why
That's the same with you. Like I said, Wolverine story, 5 out of 5. It's great.
I have to be like, there's so much that I like about this book. Martial arts. Obviously, Frank Miller and Chris Claremont being two of my favorite creators.
Classic.
Wolverine is not a character that I'm not gonna pretend that Wolverine's one of my favorite characters because he's not. I love Wolverine. I wouldn't put him in my top 10. He's growing on me as a character. He's growing on me the more I read of Wolverine. That the more I'm appreciating his backstory. I think I really liked. If I'm comparing this to Weapon X, I think Weapon X is a much better story.
I think you'll like him after the omnibus that you showed me earlier. I think you're gonna like him a lot more.
The Wolverine and the X-Men omnibus with Jason Aaron?
Yeah, I think you'll like him a lot more.
I like him in Astonishing X-Men. I love him there.
Mm-hmm.
I've loved him in the Claremont run. I've really enjoyed Wolverine, but he's never really been the character that I've thought of. Like, okay, who's your favorite X-Men? It's like it's never been. I've never said Wolverine off the bat.
That's totally fair.
You know, a lot of times I almost see Wolverine more enjoyable in his own adventures like this, and when he is with the X-Men from time to time. Mm-hmm. I do love his banter with Cyclops because he's just always right. Cyclops sucks, and everyone knows it. I give it a 4, just because that second issue is a little trippy and it takes a lot of reads because it's really it's the only issue that's really overly verbose. And it had a lot of plot holes to where the reader it's not really it flows well from panel to panel, but the narrative jumps way too much.
Sure.
You know, and it's like Claremont does that a lot. As a writer, Claremont loves doing those jumps, right? I guess that was like those flashbacks were the fad at the time in the 80s, the Bronze Age. But I'm gonna give it a 4. I'm gonna be critical.
Yeah, it's fair.
Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Comics Kings.
We
have the Ultimate Universe. We're going out of the 616. We are going in the Ultimate Universe. Join us for the ride, you guys.
It's like a whole adventure we're about to go on. This is gonna be great.
Going into an adventure. We are leading off with the Ultimates. Come on now. What's not to love? We're gonna be seeing you guys. Look for this to drop. I think we're gonna start dropping this around 3:00 Eastern time, anywhere between 1 to 3. I think 3:00 is a much better forgiving time for everybody. So we're gonna drop it at 3. That way everyone in California can hit it during their lunch break, and everyone in the East Coast can just watch it during work because I don't care, because East Coast people are lazy at work. Anyway, you guys, take care. Have a great Friday. Station.
Thank you.